So Coach Tsipis, another C that we were learning about was cooperation and the attitudes that are key to the success of a team. So what behaviors and attitudes do you look for in your team members or even prospects that you know the individual is going to be a team player?
When I saw this question, the first thing I thought across interdisciplinary connections were group projects. And the person who is the pessimist, when they have a group project, goes, I'm going to have to do more because that person's not going to do their part and that person's not going to do their part. I'm a half glass full. I sit there and say, it's a group project. That's what we teach, is a team game. And in a group project, how can I do something at such a level that Coach Chris and BB and Coach Sheffield want to climb to that level to help us make that project great? And as I was looking over the reading, one of the first points in data study was you end up exerting more effort. And I think one thing, and Coach Chris talked about the recruiting piece, for us, obviously, we need women who have great skill level, can shoot, pass, dribble, but I'm trying to watch things outside of that, and those are such things as in a game when something goes the way that was unexpected. They get called for 2 fouls in the first 2 minutes of the game. How do they respond? I look at that. I think body language is an attitude, and it screams confidence. It also screams fear. And when you're looking at those type of behaviors, I know in the recruiting process, there have been players who've gone on to be All-Americans, great players that played overseas and in the WNBA, who at some point we didn't recruit at different places I was at because of when something didn't go their way, they went and sat at the end of the bench. They untied their shoes. They didn't engage in their teammates. So when you're trying to solve a clinical problem, and now it's a doctor, he's got a little bit of an ego. You know what? You have to find a way to come to a common solution. And you have to understand, as you're looking at that, how can you bring the best out in people? And I'll tell you, I coached on the men's side for 7 years, and then have the opportunity of coaching on the women's side. And I like to say in men's basketball, my number one job was being an ego manager. On the women's side, my number one job is being a confidence giver. And it's helped me, I think. I have 2 children. I think being a coach, and you look at this and the cooperation, they're 13 and 11, so we're always looking for a lot of cooperation that doesn't always come true. But in a group project, when you're looking, how can you bring the best? The story I like to share is my daughter takes after my wife, smart, good looking, not after her dad, thank goodness. We moved here a little under 2 years ago, and she was in a math class. She's a year ahead in school, and she was in a math class with all boys. And she came home and was all upset because they had a team project, and none of the boys wanted anything to do with having her in the group, until they figured out she was pretty good at math. Well, then she came about 2 months later when they were doing things. She got upset. You know why? Because she was having to do all the work in the group project because they knew she knew things about math. I said, you know what? You can't have it both ways. You can't complain about not having enough work and then be upset when you're asked to do too much. So this question, as you're working in groups, we try to bring out in our teams. And my team dynamic is very different from the other 3 head coaches up here because we are trying to build something with women's basketball that hasn't happened yet at Wisconsin. And I can tell you in the recruiting process, finding people who are engaged with their teammates, who look their coaches in the eye, who are able to give responses back in ways that help bring not only themselves but their team forward, are things we look for in recruiting that we know once they come here to Wisconsin, they'll help make me a better coach, they'll help make their teammates better teammates.